Hello, I'm gonna show you how I make a GIF in Photoshop. So normally I try to make sure that I take a series of images that are on, I use manual mode to make sure that they're all the same exposure and none of the settings have changed so that they're consistent. And also making sure that I don't move the camera. Ideally, I guess you could use a tripod to make sure the camera doesn't move, but who has time for that? So usually I just try to make sure I stand as still as possible and don't move the camera, and I use like burst mode to take a series of images. However, sometimes that doesn't work out. In this instance, I was crouched down next to a videographer trying to shoot around his legs, and I highly doubt that these are, I highly doubt that I didn't move at all when I was taking these. So this wedding I actually took a bunch of shots that I'm going to use to make a GIF video, but I'm not going to show you how to do that right now. I'm just going to show you how to make a GIF. So I've got my series of images here. I went through to make sure that they're all the same settings and the same, same exposure, and they look pretty good. So I'm going to select all of these images and right-click and select Edit In, and then Open as Layers in Photoshop. And so then Photoshop is going to open each of those photos up as a layer. I've already opened up this window, but I'll close out of it so I'll show you how I open it. But this is going to take a while since I'm running this screen capture software. Photoshop runs pretty slow when I'm running these videos, so we'll just wait. I guess I could have been telling you all this stuff about how I take the pictures while I was doing this. I'm not very good at making these videos. So let's count how many frames there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Depending on what I'm gonna be doing with the GIF, depends on how many frames I take. I would say most of the time it's between like 5 and 10 frames, but it just depends on what it is I'm shooting. Like if it's something where, like this is a progression, I want to show like the dog coming down the aisle, so I had to take 10 frames. Sometimes I do GIFs that are only 2 frames, like I'll take 1 frame with the foreground subject in focus and 1 frame with the background in focus, and then I'll make the GIF so that it switches back and forth between the two. Alright, so here we have them all. We have them all now. So the first thing I do is go to Window and click on Timeline. That opens up this timeline window right here. Then the next thing I do is I select all the layers right here by, you click on the top layer, hit Shift, and then click on the bottom layer and it'll select all the layers for you. And then I go up here to Layer, Arrange, Reverse. And the reason why I do that is because if you don't, the GIF will play backwards. So that's the first couple steps that you do. Then with the layers still selected, you click Create Frame Animation. I just clicked it, but there are actually, that's a drop-down menu, and there are like 2 different options in that menu, so just make sure you have Create Frame Animation selected. And you'll see over here that it dropped a frame right here under Timeline. But that's just the first frame, so then next we click this little hamburger menu, and we select Make Frames from Layers. And you do that, and it adds all the frames in order. Now, you'll see underneath each frame, it says 0 seconds. So each frame is going to play for 0 seconds, and that is going to be super fast. And I already know I don't want it to be that fast, so I'm going to do the same thing where this first frame is selected. I'm going to hit Shift, click on the last frame, it selects all of them. And if you click on 0 seconds, it's a drop-down menu. This pops up and you can select how long you want each frame to play. I've found that like on average, 0.2 seconds is what I usually go for. Sometimes I'll go in and edit individual frames to be different times, but I think for this, you know, the dog's coming down the aisle, it's pretty much the same speed, so we'll see how 0.2 does. And then the other thing that you want to check is to make sure this little drop-down menu right here says forever, because you want it to play forever. It'll play on a loop that way. If you hit once, it'll just go through once and then stop and never play again. If you hit 3 times, it'll go through it 3 times and then stop and never play again. But most GIFs that are online, you'll notice, just keep looping forever and ever, and that's what we want it to do. So you can hit this play button and it'll play your GIF. And I think that looks perfectly fine. I'm actually not gonna do this for this one, but I'll show you how to do it. If you did have a GIF and you found that you were moving around a lot while you were taking the photos, and you want the photo to be more stable, I guess would be the word, you can select all the layers and go up here and hit edit auto align layers. And I'll usually, sometimes I play around with these, but usually I just do auto. Hit auto, and Photoshop will align the layers based on the content of the layers. Sometimes it does an awesome job of this, and then sometimes it doesn't. And I'm kind of thinking this time it's not going to do an awesome job, because it's probably going to try to align this content, which is going to look really funny in the output. Oh no, actually it does look like kind of cool. See how it like stabilized everything so it doesn't look like I was moving around at all? Alright, maybe we'll keep it like that. Alright, so then we have all this empty business on the outside, so we want to crop that out. So I'm just going to crop all of that out and hit enter. And then we'll play it. Sometimes when you crop, you'll see that you missed some of the spots in some of the pictures, so you can just recrop and play. And look at, it's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so when you're all ready and you like your GIF, the next thing is to resize it. If you are going to post this GIF on your blog and you have WordPress, WordPress will not play the GIF unless your width is the same width as your blog width. So like for my website, the width of my blog is 900 pixels. So I would have to size this to 900 pixels wide in order for my website, or for it to play on my website. Otherwise it'll just be a static image like this. But I'm not making this for my website. I'm making it for their GIF video, which is going to be on Vimeo. And Vimeo settings, the ones that I use, the width needs to be 1280 pixels. So I'm going to go to image size. I'm going to change the resolution to 72 because this is going to be online. And I'm going to change the width to 1280. And it'll resize the whole thing for me. If I go right here, I can click 100% and you'll see what it looks like at 100%. You can play it. It's perfect. Then to export it, you go to File, Export, Save for Web. And you'll notice like in these presets up here, this drop-down menu, you can save it as a JPEG, which it won't move. You can save it as a PNG, which it won't move. Or you can pick one of these GIF presets. And I have found that the 128 dithered preset is great. The colors are the same. You can see like if you click on these other ones that just doesn't look good. So it's probably like the biggest file size and probably takes up the most amount of space, but it's worth it because I think it looks really good. So just kind of double check your settings here and make sure that your size is correct and that it's looping forever, and then hit save, and you can pick the spot where you want to save it at. So this is actually the 17th GIF that I've made for this wedding so far today. And there you go. And then I don't save the changes because then it would show up in one of these photos. But you can see, let's see here, GIF video clips, here it is. So here's an example of one where I only had 2 frames. And I just am having it switch back and forth between the two. But like, I've made a ton of GIFs for this couple. I'm gonna do a whole video for them for their wedding. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense and you'll be able to use this video to make your own GIFs. If you have any questions, let me know.